Today I'm going to show you how to make a batch of cider without using a cider press, because most people don't have one. I'm going to make cider using this tree here. It's called a Brown's apple tree. It's a cider variety that I planted about 11 years ago, specifically so I could make cider. It has these beautiful red apples. I'll show you in a second. It's a sharp cider variety, so it means it's quite high in acidity. It gives a cider with a nice kick. I've actually already picked most of the apples. They're in a wheelbarrow over there. We'll go there in a minute. But there's still some left that I haven't managed to pick. It always amazes me how many people don't use apples at this time of year. Lots of gardens have apple trees with the apples just sitting there unused. And it seems kind of crazy that people spend a fortune on fruit in the supermarket and don't bother picking the apples on the tree in their own garden. Anyway, here you go, close up. Look at that beauty. It's yeah. So I'm going to also make the cider in a way that hopefully will extract some of the pink colour from the apple to produce a lovely kind of rosé cider, which would be quite unusual, I think, if it works. We'll see. So come with me and let's make some cider. So here we've got everything we need to make about a gallon of cider. I picked the apples off the Brown's apple tree. Aren't they beautiful? We've got a mallet. You'll see what that's for in a second. Where's it gone? There we go. We've got a chopping board. Again, you'll understand why shortly. And some wine yeast. You can get special cider yeast, but it's much the same as wine yeast. Don't use brewer's yeast. It will kind of work, but it doesn't settle, so you end up with sort of yeasty, cloudy cider, which is not so great. Oh, and I've got a container to put the mashed apples into. More of that in a second. So, all I need to do at this point is kind of rather therapeutic, is mush the apples up as much as possible, which is, as you might guess, where the mallet comes in. So it'll take a little while. That'll do. The idea is just to bruise the apple as much as possible so that the yeast can get into it and start the whole thing fermenting and bubbling and get the juice extracted. You'll see what I mean as we go along. So, it really is quite fun. Maybe going to take me 10 minutes or so, but we'll get there. Well. Last one. Nearly covered in apple juice. Right. Let's get this out of the way. So now we've got this lovely mush. Pulped apples all turning brown. All we have to do at this point is sprinkle in some of the yeast. A couple of teaspoons should do the job. You can rely on natural yeast to do this. Fruit's skin's always covered in yeast, but it's a bit of a gamble because you don't know what yeast you're going to get. There are lots of different species out there, and sometimes you can end up with something that tastes a bit strange, but it's kind of fun. But the safer thing to do is just bung in a little bit. I don't know. That'll do. So normally, if you're making cider the traditional method, at this point, rather than adding yeast, we'd press the pulp to get the juice out, and then we'd add the yeast. But this is a slightly different method, a bit similar to how you might make homemade wines. I really need to roll my sleeve up, which is a bit tricky with this top. But basically we've got to mix all that yeast to get it right through. So I'm going to have to give it a good old roust about with my hands. And the yeast will start turning the sugar in the apples into alcohol and carbon dioxide, which will, so the carbon dioxide you won't be able to see. It does occur to me that we're adding to our carbon footprint in a tiny way, but never mind. Yeah, the yeast will get going and start this fermenting, and then in a few days' time the action of the yeast and the other bacteria in here will have softened all of this apple pulp, so that we can then squeeze the juice out without actually needing a press. The whole lot will become very soft. At least that's the idea. We'll have to see. So join me in a few days' time. So we're 5 days on now, and we have a bucket load of warm, festering brown apples. They smell rather lovely actually. You can smell the alcohol already. They're fermenting away. But we've got to get rid of the apple and keep the juice. So what we've got here is a bucket with a muslin cloth across the top. And to start with, I'm just going to tip as much as I can straight in. Got all that juice. Okay. Use this as a table so we can see what's going on. Then you just squeeze the apples. If you twist the neck, the whole bag gets squashed and the juice pours out. It's not the quickest job in the world, but it's a pretty effective way to extract our soon-to-be cider. So, how easily you can see that we've got probably a pint. Did that another 8 times and we've got a gallon of apple juice, which will turn into the most delicious Brown's Heritage cider. Fabulous. Right, let's get going. Oh, I should say actually the spent apples are really good as chicken food or pig food if you have pigs, or you can use them as a mulch in the veggie patch or on the flower beds. Perfect. Right, let's get going. This is a glass demijohn. I've no idea why it's called a demijohn. It's what they've always been called. It's a gallon jar basically. And we just need to fill it up, not quite to the brim. Leave a bit of room for the bubbles. Getting there. Right, let's go again. So, there we go, 1 gallon of delightful fermenting apple juice. So, we're just going to put this little airlock on top, which stops fruit flies and other undesirables from getting in, and allows the carbon dioxide so the yeast turns the sugar in the apple juice into alcohol and carbon dioxide, so you need to let that escape. But you don't want to let things in, so this airlock is a way of doing that. Basically the carbon dioxide, it's already starting to bubble. And there we go, you can see it bubbling away already. All very satisfying. It'll only take 2 or 3 weeks for the yeast to do its job, but then it'll take a few more weeks for it all to settle, and hopefully we'll get this beautiful pinkish cider. How exciting. It's now the 21st of December, the winter solstice, and hopefully my cider is ready. Let me show you close up. So it finished bubbling after about a month or so back in November, and then it clears, it settles out, all the yeast and bits of apple settle to the bottom. You can see there's this layer here. So now all we have to do before we drink it is siphon it off. So I've just got a tube here, and if you've never siphoned before, I've always found it quite a fascinating process. Very simple, just kind of uses gravity. So I'm going to put a bit in this glass, and then I've got another gallon jar down on the floor to fill up. So as long as the bottom end of the tube is lower than the top, the cider will flow. Okay, that's probably enough because it's 10 o'clock in the morning. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful gallon nearly of homemade cider. It's not quite as red as I'd hoped, but it's a very pretty colour. Looks very Christmassy. Now let's see how it tastes. Moment of truth. That's really scrummy, it's quite sharp, zingy, delicious. So much better than Strongbow and all the supermarket rubbish. Well, Merry Christmas.